Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, as the market is heating up, it's looking like we are back on track, and it's looking like alt season is going to be soon upon us. Bitcoin is going for its all-time high run, so we'll see how high that gets, and then ultimately from there, the price should then soon plummet after a while, with Bitcoin dominance also dropping behind it, which means that the money is now getting cycled into other cryptos, which basically means alt season has begun, and that's when we get our life-changing wealth. So, got a few things here that I want to cover as we go into this, because obviously, people are getting excited now, the market's getting ready to gear up, and so, everything's looking good. So let's get into a few things that I've seen. So we've got here a guy called Crypto HBAR poised to soar to $7, targeting a $350 billion market cap within 18 months. I'm all in. Hashtag Hedera, hashtag HBAR. Okay, so there's a video that's come off of the back of this that I have watched, and I'm just going to quickly give my thoughts on it. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm not buying it. $7 is a huge ask. That's what I think personally. And the thing for me with this is, it's not just about the factor of it being such a huge ask. It's when I watched the video as to why the person was saying he believed this was going to happen. To me, there was nothing really tangible. It was like, okay, he believes Bitcoin's going to get to over $200,000 this market cycle. Who knows if that's going to happen? We really don't know. So there's no way to say for sure if that is going to happen. So straight away, if Bitcoin doesn't hit $200,000 or higher, well, that's going to straight away, put that whole theory, into a bit of a situation, right? That's already going to add a lot of uncertainty to it. And then the other things were just in terms of, effects of the market, like rate cuts and stuff like that. The big, beautiful bill coming in. There was a lot of things where it's just you can't really tangibly say what this is going to do for crypto, let alone HBAR. And so when I see these kind of things being thrown out, to me, it's just very typical influencer-ish, where you just throw out these things where you can't necessarily quantify exactly what this is going to do for price, and then you just throw a number out there. That's what it seems to me. I'm here and I'm bullish on HBAR, but, I'm not going to say with whatever I cover that this means it's going to go to any kind of price, because the truth is I don't know. So I'm not about to just say, oh yeah, HBAR to $3, because I've got no idea. I can tell you that I think it's going to do well. I can tell you that. I don't know by how much, but I believe I'm going to make money in the long term. But a lot of these factors that were being said, there was a very kind of guesstimates, thinking that this is going to happen, when he doesn't know any of this for certain. It just seemed to me like he was really just throwing a lot of hype out there, to be honest with you, and then just attaching a number to it. So if you ask me, $7 for this cycle, I'm not buying it. Now, let me just say, do I think $7 is possible maybe next cycle or something like that? Yeah, I'm not saying that, HBAR can't hit $7 at all. I'm saying if we're talking this cycle, I'm personally not buying $7 this market cycle. That's just, to me, it's just way out of the range, if you ask me, for my opinion. Okay, so we got another one here. The biggest bull run ever in history is loading. While the future and all-rounder of technology, which includes deep in AI, RWA, DeFi, hashtag HBAR is still criminally undervalued looking at its potential. $5 is my target in 2025 bull market for me. Don't sleep on hashtag LFG, hashtag HBAR. And that was from Upriti Deepak. Once again, $5 is my target. What are you basing that on? It just seems to me like people just have these numbers in their head and they just say, yeah, this is what I think it can hit. And, to me, when you're just saying that, it's all good saying, oh, well, they've got this use case, they've got that use case, they've got this use case. And so, yeah, it's going to hit $5. It's yeah, but you're just guessing. You're not really doing any kind of, reasonable conclusions to come to that answer. You're literally just saying, well, it's a good network, it does well, and it's this number in the rank. So it's got to hit $5, surely. And it's okay. All right then. I have to laugh because I just find it funny. But again, $5. Look, I'll say this. In fact, let me get to another post, because I've got a more realistic post here, and then we can give my thoughts a bit deeper. So we've got here USA Wales, and he says, this is not a dream. Hashtag HBAR $1. Now, okay, for me now, you're talking a lot more within my, my expectation. Now, look, first and foremost, I'll say this. I'm not a chart analyst. I'm not, I'm not someone who's a fortune teller. So I can't tell you where HBAR is going to go. Maybe it will go over $1. Maybe it could hit $7. I can tell you what's realistic with data and information. And that's why I say $7 isn't realistic. Not for me personally. I will say this, like I used to say if HBAR hit, let's say $2 or $3, I'd say that was a very, very good run for HBAR in my opinion. I would have thought that would have been very impressive. But with how this bull run is looking, like how it could turn out, I do think that $2 or $3 could be more possible. Now, again, look, I have no idea, so please don't take this as me making price predictions. I really don't know. I'm not here to try and act like I do. So I've got no idea. I'm just telling you like how my mentality is at the moment, my thought process. But for me, I'm sticking more towards the dollar region because to me, I think that sounds a lot more like plausible. Like to me, I think, yeah, dollar sounds very reasonable. If it does surpass $1, hey, great, happy days. Like to me, I would be saying $3 at the most. And even then again, I say that's a push. But maybe that might be more reasonable to expect now with how things have been going with a pro crypto president and everything that has been going on with crypto. Like there's a lot more things coming in like ETFs, regulations, governments trying to look at ways that they can try and get the US to become, the innovator of crypto, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more things going on with crypto being utilized now and acknowledged. So there's definitely a lot more potential here. I'm still not looking any further than $2 to $3 personally. And, I'm still keeping my eye on just the $1 target. That's just for me personally. But who knows? Like, look, we'll see what happens at the end of this. Maybe I'll be very wrong. But I do think with $7, like you're asking, like the guy said, he said, $200,000 Bitcoin. For me, I think that's still a lot for this cycle. I'd be surprised if it hit $200,000 this cycle. But we'll see, what if it does hit that? But I think that's a lot. That's a real big ask considering percentage gains and diminishing returns, like factoring those kinds of things in. I think that's a huge ask for Bitcoin to get over $200,000. But hey, we'll see how things pan out. But the one thing I will say is, look, we're getting very close to alt season now. Like Bitcoin is having its final run. We'll see what it ends up at before it, loses steam, and then we go into alt season. But I just hope you guys are ready because we're literally on the verge of this now. We're watching it happen. Like this is Bitcoin's last push, its last hurrah, and then alt season comes after that. So whatever you are anticipating, I hope you're prepared. I hope you've got a plan in place because, when it happens, it will happen fast. And this is where, greed and fear can really like play a part in how you act, in how you operate. So the best thing I can say to you guys is make a plan and stick to it. Really try and stick to it as best as you can. That's going to give you the best chance of benefiting from this, because if you do it wrong or you keep changing your decisions and you can't stick to a plan, that's the best way to mess up this opportunity. It really is. And look, the thing that I will say is like, nobody knows where this is going to go ultimately. It could go to $1, it could go to $2, $3. Again, yes, it could go to $7, but I don't think that's realistic at all. Personally, that's my opinion. I don't think it's realistic, but I'm not going to turn around and say it's a fact it won't happen because I can't say that. But like, if we go by data and the current market cap and things like that, like that's a ridiculously high number to expect. But nobody knows where it's going to go. So you've got to kind of make an idea of what you want and stick to that idea, because it could be that you anticipate to sell HBAR at $1 and it goes to $2. You've got to live with that. You've just got to accept that that was your decision to make at the time. And there's no way you could have known that it was going to go higher because we don't know. You could say, okay, I'm waiting for $3 and then it doesn't get to $3. It only gets to $1. So then you've missed your opportunity because you could have sold at $1 and still made some good profit. But because you wasn't willing to sell at that point, you was waiting for, $2, $3, then you missed your chance to sell at $1. So you see what I mean? Like, this is where it is difficult. You have got to accept that you're not necessarily going to sell at the top and you're not going to buy the bottom. These are things that you have to just understand and just live with. So just make a plan and stick with it as best you can, and just understand that you can't tell the future. So you've just got to make the decision that's best for you at that time. And you've got to learn to live with that decision no matter what the outcome. Now, one thing I will say is you could just sell percentages. That way, if it does go higher, you've still got more to sell along the way, so that's another option. But just for me, just get a plan, think about it, think it out, right? Because this is coming now. So you got to have something ready one way or the other. Best of luck to you guys, and we'll see how things pan out. And if I get any more market updates, I'll be sure to give them to you. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.